We have our
There's
audio
Caitlin.
live, so we
Hey.
can check that. Oh,
This is a
hello,
brand new
Ann and
laptop I get
Caitlin.
today.
Can you
Yeah,
see
you
us?
But I
Can you
probably
hear us?
don't need to have.
Yeah.
My other one just died, so I
Oh,
was,
do I have to
I'm
silence?
like, wait a second, this is brand new, I can just press the power button.
There, I silenced mine. Is that right?
Perfect. Ann and Caitlin, can you
Oh,
guys hear
look
us?
at all the colors.
I know it glows.
I see, I see.
The
keyboard does
is
like
colors of blue.
Yeah. I could customize it, It can like play to the beat of a song,
Oh,
which is kind of
Can
cheesy.
we be heard? Ann and Caitlin, can you hear us?
Oh.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Perfect, perfect. If everyone's ready, we'll go ahead and just hit record and get started.
no note taker.
She can do it from the recording.
Perfect.
I haven't seen her in a bit.
Okay.
Good evening. It is Thursday, March 19th, 6:01 PM, Bluff Planning and Zoning Work Session. We have a couple of us here in person, a couple of us virtually, so we'll start with a roll call. Malia Collins, Chair.
Marcia Haydenfeld.
Brian Whitney.
And Caitlin Brown. McLennan. Oh no.
It's okay.
All right,
Did it count?
gang's all here. Thanks, everybody. So moving right into this, since it's a work session, we don't have public comment. We don't have any updates from the building department or town council. So we'll jump right into number one of a discussion of training commitments and interests. My thought on this, so in our planning and zoning goals, we said that we would potentially have things that we would want to be interested in learning more about. Maybe things that would help with pursuing the zoning code, rewrite, edits, rewrite's a terrible way to put that, backspace.
Updates.
Update.
Yeah, right.
So if anybody wants to get started on maybe anything that they're thinking, and then I can also jump in.
Well, since you're addressing training, I think overall, we're supposed to try and go to some trainings and do things. So we've been trying to set some up. We've been trying to go. I'm going with you tomorrow. We're gonna listen to the one tomorrow. So all of those things, and by the way, I guess we have to in certain, in terms of the numbers of us doing it, which is great. There was one mention of something about ethics. And I wonder what that one was, or if there was a training for it, or did I miss something? And it was, I don't remember the source of that mention. And so I might have to do some homework on this, but to me, the ethics one is all of this stuff that's always bugging us, like, do we carpool to training? Do we, can we talk to our neighbors without reporting that we talk to our neighbors? Those are things you're supposed to know as an elected or appointed official. And I wouldn't mind an update on that. I've certainly been to it many times in some form, but when that word was mentioned somewhere, I want to know more. And then as far as the rest goes, I'll attend the ones that sound good. I just went to we did an hour and a half of the wrap up of with the ULCT of the bills in the state. We have another one coming up on the 25th of an hour and a half of, what was that one?
Land use.
Land use.
That
So that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll just sign up for any of those I want to do. That to me is kind of keeping up with training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo that and say that my starting point is the League of Towns and City stuff, so I know the 25th, I'll be doing that same land use one. So using that as my starting point is probably where my immediate interests are.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's also gonna help with doing the current zoning
Yeah,
update that we're looking at.
just kind of bringing us up to speed of where they're at.
Yeah, I did bring up
What's that?
this is the onboarding checklist that Aaron
Okay.
had gone over with us at the beginning of the year. Caitlin or Ann, any thoughts on training interests?
I am also planning on going to that spring training for land use on next Wednesday.
Oh no, you froze. Come back.
Oh no, am I back?
You're back. Hello.
Okay. I said I was also planning on going to that land use training on Wednesday for sure. And then I also just pulled up that like list of all the trainings from the onboarding checklist. So looking at those, I think definitely that first land use one, and then I'll probably also be interested in anything that has to do with like permitting or like different kinds of deviating from like code, you know. I don't know if that's an option, but I would be interested in that.
That would probably come up under any of the land use training ones, that it'd be a subject they would cover.
Awesome.
And I'm going to the April 13th as well as what next Wednesdays.
Awesome. Is that April 13th, another like session recap? by the week?
Monticello.
Oh, it's the one in Monticello.
Oh, yeah, that's
right.
yeah. you wanna
Oh
go to
my
that.
gosh, so
Yeah.
many exciting trainings coming.
Rescheduling.
Yes,
Previous one?
yes.
Okay.
It is, but it isn't.
It's even
Oh, it
better,
has
it's new and
more,
improved.
yeah,
They said this is not them rescheduling, but it's still hosted by some of the same people.
yeah.
Okay, so it's
They have that.
similar.
Yeah,
Yes, and we wanna go to.
Yeah.
And that's one of those ethical questions about can we all? travel
Yes,
together?
and-
Not a joke, but to actually
right, right.
find out who the authority is on such a question.
Malia and I were just chatting about that, and she's gonna double check with Erin, and if they'd like, I said I would be the point of contact to call
Hmm.
ULCT and ask them.
Oh,
And
cool,
just
yeah,
get a
that's a great idea.
clarification.
Yeah,
So if they give me permission and haven't followed through their channels, I'm happy to call and get this over with.
you have my permission.
it's so hard to believe we couldn't be in the same purpose.
Yeah.
We can be in the same rooms, right? As long as we're not discussing, like if we all
Like
have at a
socialism.
Christmas party, right? Like, so I would sure hope that as long as we weren't discussing. Just have to talk about baseball or something on the way out.
Ah, yes,
Something
baseball.
boring. That puts
to
us,
sleep.
well, no, we don't wanna put the driver to sleep. Cool,
Awesome.
that would be great.
So on the training commitments and interests, before this meeting, I was trying to log into this civic link. Because I was curious if there would be anything specific on there that would help with the zoning update that we're trying to do. So I don't have anything specific of like, "Oh, I am so excited to get into this type of training." But I know that as we're working our way through that zoning code, there's gonna be certain things that come up that are probably going to be the thing that I'm
Yeah.
decide to look into civic link of
Right.
how we should do that, because I think something I've realized with being on the commission is that we have to, this is gonna sound really silly. We also have to follow state code, and I feel like something I often forget is to reference state code to see what they are actually saying before we start to set our rules.
Good point.
And so I think that could be a good resource in that sense. So if anybody ever wants to do a training, let me know.
Oh.
It's always fun with partners.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I think that's what's gonna happen, is we're gonna start going through our work, and our work's gonna lead us to
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
someone who can train us.
Yeah, right, seriously.
Yeah, and speaking of training, the council has been working on their amended budget for 26, and they did increase the budget for training. So if there is any training that anybody wants to attend that costs some money, they did start to include that in the
Great.
budget.
That's great.
Perfect. Anything else on training? Fabulous. Number 2, discussion to increase work sessions from 60 to 90 minutes. So this is one that I put on here. And I have a feeling that as we move on to number 3, which is reviewing that red line zoning code, and then as the rest of our meetings continue throughout the year, curious about your guys' thoughts of potentially just expanding work sessions. Maybe those regular meetings, we really stick to just business. But if we went ahead and just planned for a 90-minute meeting, it would definitely relieve some of my stress of trying to wrap things up and speed things up. And we're also a long-winded bunch. So I think it might be it might be nice if we just already have that worked into our schedules, but curious about your guys' thoughts on that.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm used to 2-hour meetings, you know, coming out of virtually all the meetings I've had over the years. From Colorado through to the county, they were scheduled at 2 hours or. You know, they go 2 hours and
Yeah.
so 90 minutes makes perfectly good sense to me. It's a pain because of dinner time, but
Mhm.
we have work to do, so I'm fine. And I like it for the work session, just like
Okay.
you explained.
Okay,
And if it relieves you, that's very
Mhm.
important.
I agree.
it's not all about me, but it is kind of. Just kidding, just kidding. So to note on the dinner discussion, we could start them at 5:30, so they're still done at 7, instead of going 6 to 7:30, it could be 5:30 to 7.
I'm fine because I don't work, so I'm kind of hard to ask.
Yeah.
I do whatever I'm told. You working people with schedules, you'd have to think about that, what's best for you.
I think I would advocate for keeping it at 6 and then also, as suggested, expanding the work sessions. Because often I'm still on the phone at 5:30 or something, gives me a little break in between.
Perfect. Good. So I will check with Aaron if there's anything that we need to do to actually increase it to 90 minutes, if it requires a vote or if it requires any like public noticing or anything. But I can't imagine that it would, but you
I
never
think
know.
Starting time is the most important.
Right,
You can't cut someone off because they didn't show up for starting time, unless
Right.
you've told them that.
yeah,
Finishing time, because if we finished in 45 minutes,
right,
we'd shut our meeting down in 45
Right, exactly.
minutes.
Right. We
Yeah.
can just-
So I would think we could announce it on the town schedule, for example.
Mhm.
We can say, please note, work sessions now, now noted for an hour and a half for 90 minutes. Just,
yeah. That's a
I-
good point. I like it. Okay. And I don't know why I just shared that, because moving right along, number 3, a brief overview of the redlined Bluff zoning code to determine the timeline of our next steps. Yeah, so I shared this in your agenda packets. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time I've looked at it again since,
But I think
Yeah.
you're not alone on that
Okay.
one. I think you're gonna be in the same boat as everybody else.
since it was first shared with the building
We're
department.
still at the beginning of the year and this is our year-long project, so we're all getting acquainted. I think we're still in the getting acquainted phase.
Exactly.
but
Don't worry.
we're supposed to have spring.
It's crazy, I know. We're almost out of time, but we're still at the beginning.
Perfect.
All right, anyway.
We're gonna be a productive.
Yeah.
So, okay. Ways to work through this. I suggest we maybe just do a quick. Marcia, you have a suggestion? I'd love to hear what your
No,
thought is.
I just, obviously it's gonna be in sections because we're gonna move along.
Yeah,
One of the things I think we have to do is perhaps take Kristen's information, KB's stuff, and answer those
Yeah.
and then do them. For
yeah.
example, I think a perfect example is definitions.
Uh-huh,
So definitions, she said, hey, you can get rid of so many of these
Yeah.
because they're right there.
mhm,
Well, we need to decide if we're getting rid of these.
mhm.
If we are, bye-bye, and if we're not, we have to clean them up.
Yeah,
So to me, it seems like section by section, if we do that, we will have covered all the information.
yeah,
Because I thought she did a great job of giving us ideas of what can happen. We just have to see if we want them to happen.
yeah,
And I'd love to get rid of some definitions.
yeah. Starting at a 40-page document, what do we want it to end with?
Mhm,
Just kidding.
exactly. Well, and as you just referred to, we need to go back to the state. So
Yeah,
Kristen is saying you're referencing state law, so they have all the definitions they want in there. If
Yeah.
we say a tiny home is, purple and blue, and the state says, no, they have to be, red, then we better catch up.
yeah, and something else on definitions, she also said that you oftentimes don't want to take their definition, put it into your code, because they can change it. but you don't want to have to then update yours. So if
Right.
you're just referencing state code, it is always based on their most updated
Right.
version.
And
of
so
that
we might have to
definition.
just learn how we best do that.
Yeah.
Is that in the introduction to the bill? Whereas the state of Utah says that you can build, now therefore Bluff will build to state code. So that takes a lot of the onus off us.
Yeah,
But we're not deciding that tonight. We're
Right.
deciding how to address it.
yeah. So I had an idea that maybe if we were to break into groups of two, and I know that we're an odd number, but if we were to break into groups of two and maybe tackle different sections of this to come back to everyone with, could make it a little bit more digestible so that we're not all researching everything. So not necessarily definitions, but as we get into specifically signs or mobile homes or, any of those sections. So I think first we should start with reading the clause that she filled out. Because we are doing great on time. Go team. So suggested changes are limited to the scope of the building department feasibility and accessibility in an attempt to minimize the obstacles to development within the town of Bluff and maximize opportunity within our community. So she's referencing the Utah State Code 10-20 Municipal Land Use Development and Management Act for.
Ludma.
Oh, yes, very good. For direct research information, she sent us a link. And then keep in mind, it's a living document and continuously under review and update. Land use legislative updates from 25 and 26 to be addressed by town council directives and the town planning commission. That 2025 pending items are the ones that we have already reviewed, so
Right.
woohoo, go team.
So that's exactly what we just said. If we look at Ludma and use it to our advantage of these things, then some of it's covered for us and we can keep it up to, we can reference what they tell us to do. And that's important.
And so, jump right in. Definitions, anything covered under Utah State Code, I would omit from our town ordinance for the sake that there can be conflicting definitions and or change, creating unclear circumstances that lead to interpretations that get messy. Also taking out anything that is commonly understood.
And that one's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that one to me is, I love it because, house, define house. House is something people live in. Don't need it in there if it says house. But if someone wants to argue, I don't live in the house, I just have the house and I camp outside. What, so I love it because you can get rid of so much. If we get rid of too much, have we left ourselves with no explanations?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that, except
Right.
as I think I mentioned, my sister, the attorney, who wants everything written in just plain English.
Right.
A house is a house. I live in it.
Yeah.
The person lives in it.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I've always understood that even the commonly understood, you want to define it based on the way that you are going to interpret that word. Because then a lawyer can come in and say, actually, that's not true. So I agree. I'd be curious to do a little bit of research on commonly understood, or even asking our town attorney what his thoughts are. Because ultimately this is gonna go to him, and if we're omitting stuff and then he's putting it all back in, we're paying him way too much an hour to do that.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that's.
Go ahead, Caitlin, sorry.
Oh, I was just agreeing. I think it's a great idea to like this specific question or this specific recommendation should go to the attorney because I feel like is like which is right,
Yeah.
Actually, what we might do tonight, if we can keep going as quickly as we're going, maybe we can have a list of 2 or 3 questions for Chris that you can submit as chair and say, we're about to start rewriting. Should we leave out definitions?
Yeah.
Should we, and
Yeah.
let's do 2 or 3 questions.
that's smart.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Cause otherwise we can't just call them every week and just go, we don't know this one.
Hey, me again. Yeah, that's a great idea. I wrote that one down. So as we come up with more questions, let me know and I'll add them.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Um,
well, I think you're doing the right thing. Keep going and see what else jumps out at us.
Yeah, and so in that case, let's not omit anything until we hear from him.
Yeah.
Because she does have acre, she says omit, but,
Yeah, I would just wait until.
An acre is an acre.
all right, accessory dwelling unit. I would add the language that only one accessory dwelling unit is allowed per lot, whether it's attached or detached, as per Utah State Code. Single-family dwelling may include not more than one accessory apartment located within the dwelling and not more than one accessory apartment located in an accessory building associated with the dwelling. Oh my gosh.
That comes
language.
from the state.
Yeah, more than one accessory apartment of any kind associated with a single-family dwelling is prohibited. Leave it to the state to put the same words over and over.
Yeah, but that's important to us because
Yeah.
we've been talking about density and we've been talking about what we can allow in a resident, in
Mm-hmm.
a district. So
Yeah.
that's a good example of,
Do you guys know, I know that there was a bill about accessory dwelling units that passed in 2026, and I don't know if it did change this component of code, but that's something I'd want to look into before adjusting this portion.
I wrote, I tried to keep up with. I didn't write ADU on any of these that I took notes on. I'm
It
just
might
trying-
not impact cities as small as Bluff. It might be.
No, yeah,
Yeah, well, that'll probably be something they'll address at that training on Wednesday that is specific to land use. So
Mhm.
something to, our eyes,
Oh, that's
our
true.
ears peeked up for.
yeah, that might give us some good direction
Yeah.
too. Caitlin, I got my notes from listening to the overview of bills and I didn't write the word ADU anywhere. Doesn't mean it wasn't said, I just don't have it.
No, that's good to know. Thank you.
But it's not like I heard every word. Most of it.
State code requires 2 parking spaces, so same as above. Did the definition change? And if so, addressing that. We have stated accessory dwelling units shall not be subdivided or conveyed separately from the subject lot where the primary use is situated. The comment is, I'm not sure how to restrict this if an accessory dwelling unit is self-sufficient, owns the water line, owns septic, owns the power meter, etc., and property owners have enough land to meet the requirements. I think they can divide off. There, we've already had several accessory dwellings that have subdivided off of the original parcel.
Yeah, you split your lot, you split your lot,
Yeah.
okay?
Hmm.
If it's a big enough lot, which,
Yeah.
by the way, we'll be discussing later anyway, the size of the lots.
This thing builds on itself. Oh, yes. So she removed adjacent from, because omitted as it's commonly understood. I appreciate that she wrote underneath why
Why.
she put a strike there.
Yep.
That's really helpful. So we're not guessing. Adversely affected, she put a line through, and updated it with the state code definition.
Good.
I'm curious about verbiage with, referencing state code. Because like she said, we don't necessarily want to put their definition in because it will change. Do we just put the word and then say check with state code for this definition?
Maybe that's a Chris question where we say to him, since we want to reference the state
Yeah.
code, can we just
Yeah,
reference it? Or do we have to copy it down?
Yeah.
That could be a perfect answer for us on words that come out of state code, because we need to keep up with it, then let's just say reference it.
Yeah.
But if he says, no, you have to write it, that'd be difficult.
and then it's the assumption, what Kristen is saying about omitting things and removing things. Like, because they're defined by the code or they're in the state, where she says to get rid of it is the assumption just that you don't even need to have it because it is in the state. We'll just always default to that.
Mhm.
So then why would we need to have anything that's in the state code and our town code? Other than, because we
Other than
can't,
convenience.
well, I guess my question is, we can't, I mean, we could restrict further. But we can't override, and we can't go again, the state has. Yeah, I'm just, so I mean, I guess this again, that goes back to just like asking Chris about what's the utility of having the definitions. This project isn't, my understanding of Chris is implying is basically we can just get rid of.
Get rid of a lot because
A
it's
lot,
there.
right?
So,
But then it just defaults to the state. Is that enough? That just seems a little like in the air.
well, and I think her point is that when she and Cody, is that his name,
Yeah,
go over
Corey.
Corey, excuse me, when they go over the paperwork and they're matched, she's typically doing that and he comes in to
Right.
inspect. When they do that, they've got to meet the state codes as the building department.
Right.
Therefore, when they read
Right.
something here and they go, oh no, you just undid the state code. So that's, I think, where it's coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that is a good point, right? Is that we also have a bunch of stuff in there that's like, sort of, for lack of a better term, vestigial from a time when we didn't have a building department, so I
Mhm.
think if she is correct, that there's a lot of stuff that's now covered because of that entity. Like, are we just
They can
like,
catch it
oh,
better.
actually, it's over there anyway?
The county building department was probably thinking along the same lines, but
Right.
they weren't quite as astute as Kristen and
Sure.
Corey are being to do
Yeah,
this. Okay,
Probably had a lot more coming across their desks.
yeah,
Yes.
Awesome. All right, continuing down.
Apartments.
yeah, admit because it's defined by the building code.
Oh, okay, another one that's referenced. Cool. I like this one, not used anywhere in the
Yeah.
document. Oh.
You don't have any reference to appealing in this?
It
That's
should
surprising,
at the
yeah.
end say all appeals go to the
Yes.
appeal authority, but.
Yeah,
Maybe we might use a different term, I wonder if we use like appeal, a body of appeal or something.
Okay.
Okay, that one says.
read it out loud, Brian.
What?
Oh, the archaeological resource one, I was just looking at what she said, omit of section 6.01.020.I is revised as noticed. That one's sort of like a choose your own adventure, where you have to go down to another and then back to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it's like one of those books. you
Yeah,
read as a kid.
Yeah.
That one, so let's see if she changes. What is it?
All right, so then the automotive repair, the light, if you're gonna define this, you need to define all uses as listed on the zoning regulations matrix. Otherwise, omit and refer to commonly understood definitions. So I guess that's a decision that we also need to make if we want to define all that are in the uses listed, or if we want to
Yeah.
just omit, so.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think that this goes circles back around to your previous idea of what is the best way. Cause I don't, top to bottom is not very effective because there's just too much in there. So I would say we have another, do we wanna readdress this at meetings or just work sessions for now? You know, there's no immediate time crunch, right?
Right,
Month,
unless there's anyone that is waiting on this zoning code.
Sure, unless there are, I mean, we wanna be. What's the word I'm looking for?
Efficient.
Efficient, but we don't necessarily need to feel like we can't give ourselves a month of work to. So
Right,
I like your idea about dividing it up, so how
Yeah.
can we chunk this thing up? So you were thinking groups, and that will leave one of us by ourselves, but that's fine.
or one person in two groups.
yeah.
True,
I was thinking that because I prefer working with someone else. I know that when Mark and I were
absolutely.
working
That
on the
works well.
RV ordinance,
yeah,
if I was doing it alone, I would just like fall asleep to
Yeah.
it, but working with someone else, I was actually able to think it through and ask questions, and we were able to.
You bounce it off each other.
Yeah.
we wanna cut the thing in half, make two groups. Then you be part of both groups, and that way you can do less. That meaning that the other two, like. the other four of us can be in more heading up, just digesting this thing.
Right.
And you can be looking at it from above, and that way also you can do less boots on the ground,
Sure.
just because you have more on your plate. So then we could cut it in half, and then
Mhm.
we can divide it up, and then by the next work session, if people feel like there's enough time to have done this, we could present to each other, just divide the work session in half and.
I absolutely.
Yeah,
agree.
something like that, does that seem like a,
The only hang up at the time
Yeah,
for
yeah.
timing
Right.
is some crisp
Mhm.
direction of what he wants.
yeah,
to
exactly,
do.
so we can start by getting him, I think we should do that soon.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
If you said to him, we're about to dive into this,
Mhm.
can you direct us to what you
Mm.
need to see and answer us a couple of questions? Do we just say, look at the state?
Yeah.
Do we, then as you give us our assignment to our little groups here,
Mhm.
we can go through that with that in mind.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, we're gonna be reading this going, well, we have to hear from Chris if we have to keep it.
right.
right,
And we won't get very
so should we have a deadline then for questions for Chris?
tonight.
Yeah, I'll send the email.
Well, just, you want some tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, what other, I guess, how, I'm just thinking then, like, what are some other questions to extract and how can we extract them
Mhm.
in this document?
Right. Well, I mean, of course, we can continue asking questions. These are ones we can.
Oh,
stop.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yes, yeah.
So really important things is like definitions,
Mhm.
keeping things.
What about just the general overview question of how do we incorporate state law
Yes.
and not
100%.
duplicate state
Yeah.
law?
Yeah, that can go a
That
long
will
way.
tell us a long way.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
point. Yeah, cause as long as that's our guiding light, we will then be able to look at each one and say. I mean, I think part of this is gonna be also just looking at state law, referencing back to it and saying, what does it actually say over there?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. of
Is that
jumping
anything else
between the
we-
two
yeah.
and-
it's got it lined up.
Then what we should do is divide it into two groups, and
Yep.
then within our groups, we'll divide it into two more groups.
Yeah,
So
you
we
can-
have 4 parts, yeah,
Kinda keep-
no, each group can do whatever they want, it's about, let's just see who gets the most, okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. I know, there's so much to digest. of
Well, what if we didn't divide the whole code at first? What if we just like,
Portions, yeah, baby
just
steps,
portions.
that's a good idea.
then it might be
Yeah.
that one thing is a lot bigger.
And
than
also, we
another.
have the capacity to come back to this over the next couple months.
Right.
We can do that without,
And we're gonna have
Telling
to, yeah,
ourselves.
just.
yeah,
I don't wanna get bogged down in it though either.
Right.
yeah,
I think we can move once we have some answers of, no, don't include these definitions.
Yeah.
Or, hey, clean up your definition.
so
Yeah.
what if we looked at some other? Why don't we look at some other sections besides the definitions for this first month?
Yeah,
And
agreed.
that way, that one, cause the question that we're gonna ask Chris is gonna answer definitions pretty well.
Right.
And then we can just cut up some other sections
Yeah.
amongst us,
Things that I know, have been part of discussion
yeah,
are like part of the districts. If we should address setbacks, if we should address, like addressing setbacks, addressing.
Lot sizes.
Lot sizes,
In the initiatives put through the state house, it is driven by Governor Cox's little speech he gave the other night about, I think it's actually a commercial he's running. We need to do housing that includes giving money to new home buyers and things like that, which don't get me started. But he also said the parts about zoning
oh,
updates. And
okay.
that dings in my head like, oh, we can have a little smaller lots around here.
yeah,
We can, maybe, I'm not
Mhm.
saying we will, but we can look at those.
Mhm.
So to me, those are the things that could be updated into this. The small housing, smaller lots, lots in different places, opening up. We don't need it necessarily in terms of having a housing boom around here, but we have seen friends and neighbors who need access to smaller, if that's the right way to put it.
Mhm.
So that may well be a good way to
Mhm.
address some of the things that we're doing.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, maybe if one group wanted to take on looking into setbacks, what, and that can, example being, looking at what other towns of our size have maybe done with what their setbacks are. And even calling them and saying, hey, how's that going?
Well, I mean, we saw the argument happen here. We
Mhm.
said as the town planning board that we wanted 25 or 30, I can't remember,
Mhm.
commercial frontage. And the town said, no, 50.
Yeah,
And kind of nobody does 50. It's a
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
You're taking a lot off your lot.
Mhm.
So there's one that we can argue for or
Right.
not,
Yeah.
decide.
Mhm.
So maybe someone should just take on the zones,
Yeah, yeah.
the districts.
Yeah,
I would love to do that.
great.
Brian, I'll do that with you. Do you want to?
Let's
That's all.
maybe separate you two.
Oh,
so that-
sorry.
you know-
We don't get to be partners.
Sorry, kids.
Teachers separated us because they're sitting together too frequently. Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay,
Unless you
But
would,
either
you would
you-
rather do that though, I'm.
no, it's fine, go, you said,
see.
you
All right,
pick
then
on
I'm taking it.
districts and pick a partner,
Zoning.
or have a partner pick you.
Yeah.
One of the ladies can decide.
So then I would sort of be looking at
So you,
zones and then kind of
Yeah.
requirements, procedures for all the zones.
Yeah.
Just
Setbacks,
looking at
lot
that.
sizes.
allowed
Density.
uses.
Just sort of what the allowed
Density.
uses are and just looking, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's
I'm
gonna be
gonna
a
write
big
this down,
one, so.
checking in on the zones.
Yeah. And something that Kristen even suggested was having less zones.
Yes.
If you would even wanna look into if that's.
And
if that makes sense.
I was reading them again today before, because someone was asking a question offhand, and I just was
Mhm.
trying to refresh things, and I was sort of just reading through them, just being like, man, there's some weird redundancies and weird. It doesn't even have C2 in the table of contents.
Sure doesn't.
Interesting.
I'll
If
take a
there
look at the
is a
table of
C2.
contents.
That's perfect. You get
You're good at
tables,
tables, yeah.
you're in tables, tables.
I want definitions,
Okay,
but obviously we have to wait for the answers. So.
well,
But-
he might get
I
that.
will be glad to work with Brian if he would take me on with
Okay,
zoning,
great.
just because I'd like to learn about the zoning.
All right,
Awesome.
sweet, sounds
Okay,
great.
Caitlin, it's you and me. What are we gonna do?
What are you guys gonna do?
Well, let's see.
Well, I know that there were mistakes from our mobile home, modular home, from moving those into this larger zone.
Mhm.
Or this larger zoning code. I know that when we were looking at the the review last week.
Would you go down to it? Did she give us some stuff in that section to start us off that would help? Because frankly, I was up to here with RVs, having help,
Fair.
but
Yeah, so the black one.
if in fact, yeah, see, signs is a good one with definitions. Yeah, she put some
She has a
stuff.
couple of things, but if you
No,
don't.
no,
wanna take it back
I
on,
don't mind doing
there's
it.
plenty of other things you can do first.
Caitlin, you pick something.
Wait. Okay, so I'm a little lost. Help me. I feel like the document I'm looking at, I feel like is different than the one that's on your screen, but I also might be crazy. What are the sections? Like, where are the sections that we're divvying up?
We're kind of creating them. I was hanging out in
Okay.
the table of contents, and so what we included for Brian and Ann is actually 6.01060 all the way through 6.01130.
Right.
They're just looking at all of the districts. So
Okay.
Yep.
they're not necessarily divided in the document. We're creating abstract.
So,
Thank you. I was
Yeah.
looking for like explicit.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like I'm wondering what's like a good chunk that is equivalent, I'm trying to think about how to like equitably distribute.
I wonder if you guys were to just look at like the review process, because there's a lot of review. There's review process, site plan review required and exemptions,
yeah.
submit requirements. That might be something to start reviewing.
and
Mhm.
that might mean, Caitlin, if you and I are doing that section, then we might want a session with Kristen as the building department telling us what they do about reviews and
Mhm.
site reviews.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that's been taken off the plate of P and Z.
Right,
The building department does it.
and that would be really helpful for us to know.
Okay,
Mhm.
so Caitlin, I think that's great.
Okay. Perfect.
6.40, what, it starts right
It
there?
starts at 6.40.30.
6.40.030.
And Ann, I'll have my people reach out to your people. And we'll find a time that works.
My people, will be back in Bluff
Alright,
on Saturday.
perfect. Well, I'll
As
be
I am
gone.
in Rockville with a 297 population.
Wow.
Oh, you're in a
Take
big
a look at
city.
their code.
Big towns, big towns. That might be a little big for us.
Awesome, I think that's a
Perfect.
great
That
start.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Now,
then,
guys,
do we
so
want to
what am I
just
playing?
think about this? Have like a check-in at the meeting about it, so we can put an agenda item on it, just so we can update, see where everyone's at. Maybe if Chris has responded to us. Okay,
Perfect.
I'm not gonna hold.
Yeah.
my breath. He's a busy guy.
Tell me about it. Yeah,
but-
so I guess my homework is emailing Chris and then reporting back.
Yep,
Wow.
Yeah, just for a guiding hand from on high.
awesome.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
You guys have, what's all the yellow? Why did
She doesn't need it. She says, why do you have it there?
Oh,
So-
cool, so you
but
guys are.
that's
All of the
good.
yellow?
We're gonna look, Caitlin and I are gonna read
Yeah.
through and figure out why we do have it there.
Our dream is that none of it matters. We'll all be deleted.
We're down to 2 pages of, hey, if you wanna build it, come to Bluff.
But if you
Oh,
wanna build
no.
it, if you wanna build it, go talk to the department.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
No, there's still many things still here. There's only still some things.
Do
Like
I
the
work
maps
on
we're gonna look at.
enforcement? Is that where I start?
Yeah, right, you can start
Oh, God.
just generally enforcing.
No, it's still the mayor that's gonna do the enforcing. We just tell
Oh, nice.
them what to enforce.
Right.
Okay.
Well, let's remember that we're just doing this study and we'll be bringing it
Yeah.
back so we can all go through this and it works. It seems to work well to have someone guide each discussion that
Right.
they've looked it up first. So
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah, just to kind of keep it moving.
Cool.
Perfect.
Great.
Awesome. I think that's gonna be a great way to get our document cut in half. Let's get it down to 20 pages.
Caitlin,
Just kidding.
when you get back in town, give me a call and we'll look at our schedules. I'm out of town from next Saturday for a week. Saturday is Saturday, so we'll talk and be ready to decide. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll be back Friday evening and I'll call you Saturday.
Yep, yep.
Great.
Sounds
Talk to you
great.
this
Look
week.
at this teamwork.
Sounds good. So that, what they said, and we'll do the same thing, we'll just do what they do. We'll let them lead us.
Awesome. I
Okay.
think that was a great brief overview of our red lines to determine our timeline of next steps. So,
Update of brief overview, oh, sorry.
it's gonna be so easy to write the next agenda. So that leads us perfectly into number 4, items for our next agenda. Do you want this on the next agenda or do you want this on the next work session? Or both?
Well, I like Brian saying, just put on there update,
Okay.
and our update could be, hey, we haven't met yet.
Updates,
You know, and that way each team reports in,
Yeah.
because it could be that someone has a question for the group. Hey, I
Mhm.
found this.
That's
And
great.
it might be a nice, soft deadline halfway through to just make sure everybody's thinking about it. And even if that way, if people haven't started, at least gets it back on
Yeah.
the forefront before the work session, so.
Because I'm sorry to say, I probably will miss my first meeting in like forever. I won't be here on the April, whatever that is,
Is that the 8th?
3rd or.
Oh, yeah.
What is the date on that one?
I was just thinking.
Speaking of which.
It's
Calendar.
April 1 or
Almost.
2 or 3 or something.
Oh, the 2nd. Phew, I'll be here. Okay.
April 2nd is the meeting, and then April 16th is work
I'll
session.
be
Yeah.
back for that. So April 2nd, I'm sorry, I know already
That is-
that I cannot be here. And I cannot call in because I think I'm in the Cirque du Soleil shows or watching.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, whatever.
For Great.
We'll put it on record that your absence is excused.
Yeah.
For performing in circus.
Because you are performing a citizen.
No, we're going to Hoover Dam that day.
Oh,
Just-
cool.
Nice.
Awesome. Any other items for the next agenda?
Should we do a
Uh,
report out from our land use training since
Oh,
we're,
yeah, that's
some of us are
great.
going next week?
Yep, that's on.
Good.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent, that's an excellent idea.
I thought I had something, but I can't think of it. All right, any other items for the next agenda? Number 5, other.
I would like to do an other. I just, oh, I'm such a nasty neighbor. There is a wonderful new project underway in this town of recycled material. Okay. How does the neighborhood feel, or those code enforcement people feel about the result of that program becoming a lumber yard on a residential lot? And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm questioning change of use, perhaps, okay? Because
Yes.
you all know the lot I'm talking about. You all know that it is residential, which includes schools, as in campus.
Yeah.
It, you know, what we have going on is a shift,
Mhm.
not of the bad people, not of the, you know,
Right.
No, we
nothing.
get you saying, totally.
So
Yep.
I'm throwing out a discussion of, is there something to discuss? Or is there not? And
Well, I think it circles back to, I mean, I would also say that it circles back to a time they approached. I believe the group that is doing most of that,
Mhm.
for full discretion, that's partially my.
Mhm,
I think they're less involved in that particular project, but they're part of the workshop, my
Mhm.
wife and my sister.
Mhm.
But that being said, they did approach asking about the potential for what you're saying, which is like, really, do they need to? So I don't know if there is maybe it's also about, I don't know if it's appropriate for us to reach out and say, hey, can we continue that conversation?
Yeah,
Cause I do think that if,
okay,
I think they were aware of it from the beginning too, of wanting to make sure that they were,
there you go.
you know what I mean?
So
I
that-
do think they would be receptive, would be my guess. Cause they also came to us and they were like, we wanna make sure we're not gonna be doing this wrong. Remember that one? I think they did, right? Didn't they write a letter about asking about zoning?
To
The
planning and
plans,
zoning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll have to look, I'll look that up and.
I thought they
share that.
wrote once,
Okay.
and I thought Kate came on and asked just because she was wondering about. I think their specific question was about rentals
Yes.
and
it
about
was.
housing for rentals. But there was a bigger question of if the projects that we're gonna take on no longer match being on residential, should we, so it's already in there.
Okay.
So if we think that's the case, I think it's a totally appropriate thing to just say, hey, do you guys wanna have that conversation again? So we could invite them, or one of us could reach
Well,
out.
or could we ask Malia as chair, would you go looking for the documentation
Of
that
course.
covers that?
Yeah,
And say, even though I won't be at there, bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
As an agenda item
Mhm.
that says, do we see a need for this? Yeah,
Yeah.
and just, and like I said, I am not against, I'm not, this is
Totally.
not people wise,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is,
100%.
I went over there and there's a lumberyard.
I mean, you could, it, there's a certain level of absurdity to that property being deemed residential.
Well,
Okay.
yes,
I mean, I understand that there's a complex history of the ownership and the things of that property. I think just from my perspective of looking at an overlay map and thinking like, what takes place there, you're like, wait a second, shouldn't this be something different anyway?
that was a long, hard fought war for that street.
Oh, sure. Oh, I mean. I know
Commercial,
what you mean,
commercial,
yeah, yeah.
commercial to
Okay.
the school, the old school, commercial, you know,
Right,
it had been commercial far out, all the, you know.
yeah, right,
And then boom, town
yeah.
came in. Planning and zoning had to, I wasn't on planning and
I wasn't
zoning,
either.
but there, you know, we weren't on planning and
For
zoning,
sure.
but that's what they were, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
around and around they went.
Yeah.
And that was the answer,
yeah,
residential.
yeah.
Fine,
Yeah.
okay, done. The bank can stay because they were already there. The school
Yeah.
can stay, they were already there. How do we change up and do they want to?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the answer. I just was a little blown
Yeah.
away by the scope.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I think also seems like maybe it's a perfect time to just readdress that
Yeah,
question with
it
them.
could be, you know.
Yeah.
They probably would be
And it-
psyched to have that conversation, cause I know they have a lot of future projects that they wanna do.
I
Yeah.
want them to have projects.
Yeah, and it's
They
also,
do.
it's just like, it makes sense to me that, yeah, again, I don't have to go down that road exactly right now, but the history of why that's residential, but. Like, to me, I'm also just like, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm gonna try and wood shop in a school, in like a program like that, probably maybe we should reevaluate what's going on there anyway.
Yeah, and this also folds really nicely into doing the zoning code.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
we're working on, you looking into
Yeah,
the,
totally.
you and looking into the density
Yeah.
and all of the districts and zones. And
Yeah,
determine
actually,
exactly
this-
what those look
totally.
like, so
That's a great
this
point.
is, this is a
Yep.
really good time
So
for us
maybe
to
we
have
can-
this conversation with them. Have this conversation amongst ourselves
Yep.
and continue.
The
Revising.
part about definitions within the zone. In a residential zone, you can.
Right.
And I looked, it didn't say lumberyard, it didn't say cloud, whatever.
Totally, no, I know what
So-
you mean, yeah.
There, maybe you can have a lumberyard, I don't know, I'm just.
But right, it's like, what does it
Yep.
actually mean?
Yep.
And also, according to the state law now, if they wanted to, they could appeal to have that use in that law. According to the 2025
That-
land use change, is that they can, right, isn't, that
Great.
was the one I.
They can
So
ask.
maybe then that's the way to do
Yeah,
it.
they can ask,
But we'll
right,
talk.
that's, they can at least ask, right? But they may find that there's a bigger, shift and change that they wanna have on that property, that might be a very good conversation to have.
That might fit better in a different
Cool,
Yeah.
thank you,
district or zone. Awesome.
that was my other.
Thank you for bringing that up.
That's
That's
a good thing.
great.
to bring up, and I think
Does
that-
anyone else have another?
I have another, not other.
Another other from.
I'm like, that was quite hard to say. I think, Malia, I've talked to you about this before because I rented the community center, which I still owe you documents. But on Monday from 3 to 7 p.m., in addition, we're doing some stuff in the morning, but we're trying to keep that group smaller. We are United Today Stronger Tomorrow, in addition to Norman and some members of the county commission and some other folks who have been working around the tribal set aside for the home energy rebates program for the state. Do all of these words make sense? I feel like I got ahead of myself a little bit. Yes, good. The implementer for that program, it's a tribal set aside. It's $8 million. It's for use on all tribal lands in the state of Utah. So the same group that advocated for that set aside is pulling together sort of community listening and work session with those same leaders, some chapter house leaders, and the implementer of the home energy rebates program for the state, Green Cat. And so Rep Monson and Rep Schallenberger, who owns Green Cat and is the implementer, in addition to just a bunch of other people, a slew of characters, will be participating in this work session from 3 to 7, hopefully talking to the implementer about how to design the program so we can implement it in a county as rural as ours. And it would be awesome to see any planning and zoning commissioners there, whoever can come, please let me know because we're going to feed you. And then in addition to city council members, really like if a couple of members of Bluff's government or our staff would like to attend and are available, we'd love to have you.
So this is Monday night from what?
Monday from 3 to 7 p.m. And we'll be on a little caravan looking at some homes in the county from 11 to 3. And so we might kind of filter back at 3, but it's a hard start at 3:30 for the afternoon portion.
And here at the community center. What's the
Yes.
date?
Monday's the
It's
20.
yeah, the
22.
23rd.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. That would be great.
Yeah.
If you want to forward an invite, I can also forward it to council, or if you want to also just forward it to council, either way. That might be a good way
Perfect.
to. include that.
Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect.
Any others? So it's some good others tonight.
Another other from a brother from a other.
Awesome. In that case, it is 6:55. This meeting is adjourned.
Wow.
Thank you.
Work,
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you
everyone.
all.
You.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Have a safe
guys.
trip home.
Yeah, everybody
Both
be
of
good
you,
out there.
ladies.